Hey guys, so we're able to direct message with other users in the same team as us, but we're not able to easily navigate to this. Right now we're just having to go into the URL and changing the two IDs here. And what Slack does to navigate and to be able to direct message with users is they have a little plus here that you can click on. And what that does is allows you to bring up a little pop-up, and you can type the user's name you want to talk with, and it'll do a little auto completion where it has all the names of the users in the team, and you can select that, and then it'll pop up a little dialogue like this, and you can talk to them. So that's what we're going to be building, the little pop-up that you type. So first thing we're going to do is add a little button to our direct messages right there, and then to bring up a little modal, kind of how we're doing this with channels if you're the team user or team lead. So we're going to first go into channels. So this is the container. We're going to be working on the sidebar. Our channels here, we're just going to add like another little button to it. So kind of how we added this little add circle icon to our channels, we're going to do the same thing for direct messages. So here's where we say the word direct messages, and we're just going to copy this. And you'll notice we only show this if we are the owner of the team. For direct message, you can message users if you're not the owner of the team, so we're going to get rid of that. Oops, we're always going to show this icon. And let's just go to our front end real quick and see the little icon that appears. Make sure it works. Cool, so now we have this little button. So now when I click on this, what I want to happen is a little modal to come down, and I can invite people to the team. Okay. So I have this on click, so I'm going to call this direct message on click, or we'll just say direct message click. And we're going to pass this on a prop, so on direct message click. And I didn't put on in front of here, so on, there we go. And so we need to pass this prop or down to this in our sidebar over here. So similar to how we're doing it over there, and we have a toggle for each one, we're going to have open direct message modal, and that's going to be false. And then we're just going to copy a toggle for this. So instead of toggle add channel, we're just going to toggle direct message modal. So open direct message modal. There we go. So now down here at the bottom, we can copy this, and we're going to create a new modal. This is going to be the direct message modal, and we're going to have a team ID passed in because we need to know the team that we'd like to chat with the user. So that's important to pass down. And then on close, we're going to call toggle direct message, and then we need to grab it from the state, whether it's open or not. So we called it open direct message modal, and then that's what I'm going to use here to say whether it's open direct message modal, and then here sidebar direct message modal. Okay, so we changed the key because that needs to be unique. We pass those in. We need to actually create this component, and then right here we need to pass in the on direct message click, passing in our function that toggles, and not the add but the direct message. Okay, so now let's create this little modal. We're going to copy this direct message modal. We're going to create this in our components. So direct message modal. And now if I come back over here, should get rid of the red. And we don't need a decode anymore, so I'm going to remove that from the top there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy what we're doing over here because it's going to be very similar. At least the modal part. Now, I'm just going to make sure our opening and closing of the modal works. So let's just click on that, and it does, so that's good. So now we need to talk about what we want in our direct message modal. So I want a little input box like this where I can type and it will autocomplete the names of users. And then when I hit the name of a user that I like, it'll actually just take me to the page where I can chat with them. So the way we're going to create this little box is we're going to create an auto completion one. And I really like this component. It's called Downshift that helps you create these. And so we're going to use this, and I'm just going to copy their getting started example because I think it's really easy. And we're going to take this and modify it to work for our setup. So I'm just going to copy that and to come into this direct message modal and paste it in. And I'm going to come over here to terminal and just say yarn add downshift to add it to the project. Okay. So let's first carve out the stuff we don't need from this because we have a lot of stuff. We don't care about any of this. We really just care about open, on close, and then we also have a team ID, which we don't even know if we need here for now. We don't need any mutations, and we're not using formic because we don't. Well, we could make this into the form, but we're not going to. We're gonna just use downshift for this. So this is going to be a direct message modal, and we'll paste that here. And so we don't need this query here, we don't need this stuff, and I don't need all this. We're going to be using an input field, so I'll keep that, and I'll keep a cancel because why not. So we can have a little cancel button, and we don't have to worry about disabling. And then on click, fluid, that looks good. Not sure. Oh, the indention's just off. And then the input field here, we're gonna change. So here's gonna be search users. And then we're going to copy and just move our autocomplete up here. Okay, so we're importing downshift. And then our little example here where we're using this downshift, we can copy all of that. We're going to put downshift where our input field is. And for now we're going to hard code, so they're calling the values, and okay, so they're on change, they're just console logging, and they're calling items. So actually, we're going to create two to make this simple. I'm just trying to think of the simplest way to move this over to ours because I want to use this input field. So instead of exporting direct message modal, I'm just going to export default this little function here, and instead of calling basic autocomplete, it's going to call our downshift, or our not our downshift but our function up here, direct message modal, and you guys will see what this is doing in a second. Okay, so now I can move downshift and put it here and get rid of this basic autocomplete, and then the items and on change we can take as parameters here. This is what I was talking about. I suppose we could actually just hard code it here. So I'm going to say selected is equal to console.log selected. This actually makes more sense. Let's just hard code it for now. Are we using items anywhere? Just there. So the items, I'm going to keep apple, orange, and carrot. And now I can get rid of this actually. So export default direct message modal. Okay, so let's just go over real quick what I just did. I'm going to comment out this input. So right now we have this downshift component basically that I just copied in here. I haven't gone over how this works or what it's doing. Let's see if it works and what it looks like, and then we'll explain what it's doing. Alright, so looks like cancel works, that's good. Looks like it doesn't show. It says favorite color and turn to input into a thing, but nothing happens when I type, which is kind of weird. I don't know if I broke it. Actually, I didn't start typing. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now it works. So favorite color, I can type in, and as you're typing, look how it filters. And then I can hit enter, and then you notice in our console we get which we selected. As you can see, it's a little bit buggy, and I think that could just be because our modal right here, the way it renders. So I'm going to make this input how we have this. So I'm going to create this as an input with capital I, so this uses semantic. It looked like it was using it anyway though. And I'm going to make you fluid, and we can change the placeholder if we want to. Notice how they're doing this get input props, and they're passing the placeholder in through here instead of just saying placeholder like that. The reason they're doing this is just so it doesn't get overridden. This is something they have in their documentation they talk about. But alright, let's see what that looks like now. So orange, or if I say APL. And so as soon as I select it, for us, what we want to do is we want to navigate to a new page. So let's look at how this is working. So we have this downshift component. So this makes sense. We pass an on change. So every time we select something, we get the selected item. Cool, that makes sense. So then we have all these props. So downshift is, I don't know if you've seen this before. These are called rendered props, I believe, where downshift starts here, ends here, the tag does. But you'll notice in between here we have a curly brace and then a function call. So here are the parameters to the function. So downshift actually is calling this for you, and it passes you all these parameters. And then you create the function. So you take these parameters that downshift gives you, and then you output HTML or JavaScript, JSX, all your stuff that you have here. So downshift takes as a child a function, and it calls that child and gives it these parameters, so we use them. And you'll notice is open, input value, selected item, all these things make sense to how this is working over here, and you can use them to customize the experience. Okay, so we have this thing right here, which is our input. So we notice we're taking the input props, so as we're typing, it actually knows what to do. We have to pass in these props. So I'm sure there's on change prop in there and some other stuff. Is open now takes up the rest of it. And is open, this is that little box that you see under it. So as I type A, or letters, you see it underneath. Now notice when I hit S, it just disappears. That's because there's none with an S. And the reason why they made it like this is so you can customize how everything looks. Like you notice how they just have divs here with borders. You can make this a lot prettier if you wanted to. So here it has is open, like basically have we started typing yet, I believe is pretty much what it's close to with is open. So whether we should show this thing. And then it has the items. So here are the items. This you can pass in as a prop if you want to. This is basically your data. And you're just going to filter based on what the user has input. So for us, the input value. So the input value would be whatever I'm typing here. So I have typed ABC, or AB. So the input value is AB, and all it's doing is it's filtering from this list all the ones that it doesn't match. And then after that, it's mapping the results. So it's actually pretty simple. So it takes the whole all the suggestions possible, filters away the ones where it doesn't match whatever you typed here, and then it displays a div with each item. And here we're just giving it a key and some styles, and then we're passing the prop here, the item prop that we get from downshift, and this is just something downshift needs us to do. So this is pretty close to what we want, but instead of favorite fruit hard-coded, we want to show different sets of users depending on our team and all the users in the team. So let's do that. So the way we're going to do this is to add GraphQL to this component, and make it display all the users that we have in this team. And that's going to be like, instead of apple, orange, carrot. So I'm going to import GQL from GraphQL tag, and we're just going to do a little GraphQL here. Now we don't have a query in our backend that supports this, so we're going to have to write this. We're going to create some kind of query called get team members, and we'll call it, this is a query, get team members query. And we're going to fill out this query in a little bit, and I'm just going to call GraphQL on this guy, passing in my get team members query. So then here I can say data, and I'm going to say loading and get team members query, and so I'm going to call it get team members, the actual query that we write, which we haven't yet. And so that's what I'm going to feed here. So get team members. So get team members is going to be an array of users, and then the item here is going to have an ID, so I'm going to use that as the key, and then item.username is what I'm going to show to the user. And this is fine. Get item props. I think we can just pass the item like so there. And then loading, we're not going to show this until it's done loading. So I'm going to say loading or not loading. We'll show this downshift component. And let's see why. Oh, just expecting. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. So now let's actually create this get team members query. So we're going to come to our backend down here. So first we're going to create the schema for it. Let's make this in the team. So we're going to make a query get team members. So this is given a team ID, which is going to be an integer. We pass back an array of users, where the users are the team members of that team. Now, where's this? This is our mutation. We're going to have to go to our query. Do we not have query here? I guess we have no queries. All right, let's add our first query. I guess we have our query in other places, or we got rid of them. So what I name this? Get team member. So copy that, paste it here, and this is going to require auth. So we can copy that. So we're going to get passed a team ID as an argument, and we're going to have models.user, and let's just close that, close that. So here's our thing. So console.log hi. Okay. So here's where our query is going to go. And now I'm going to write this as just a SQLized raw query because I find that easiest to write, because we're going to be doing a join. Similar, we're basically going to be doing what we did with our guy right here, where we're fetching against members. So I'm actually going to just copy this because it's going to be similar-ish, and come back to our team resolver. So this is what I'm going to return, the return value of model.sqlize.query. Here I'm going to have one replacement. The replacement is going to be a team ID, and the model that we're going to get is users back, and we should get an array of users back. And so here we're going to select all from users as user, and I'm not even going to do any of this join stuff. We're just going to say where, so select all from users, and we're also going to, actually, you know what, let's do a join. I was just going to do an implicit join, but I think this will make more sense if we do a regular join. So we want to join this against members and find all the members of the team and get all the users. So we have their username. So select all from users as, and we'll just call this U. Join members on, and we're going to say members as m, and we're going to check m dot user ID is equal to, and that's going to be u dot ID. So we're matching up, we're finding the member for each user. Oops. And then we're going to come down here and we're just going to say where member dot team ID, and we're going to check that against the team ID that we received up here. And we could even say join on this as well. So let's look at our resolver. How was I doing replacement? Is it just a question mark? Yeah. So we'll add a question mark here. GraphQL is not defined. Oh, that's our front end. So let's see what the problem is here. I think I just have a missing parenthesis or something. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now our query is done. I believe there's going to be a problem with this and we're going to get duplicate values, but we're going to have to run this and see. I think we're going to get duplicate values because I'm not filtering, or I'm not saying distinct users, and the users can be part of multiple teams, but we'll see. I'm going to get rid of that because we don't need it here. Let's create the query and run it now on our front end. So I'm just going to go localhost and create it. So we're going to query given a team ID, and this is going to be an int, and we're going to say get team members given a team ID, and all we really care about is the ID and username of those users. Run it, prettify it, let's add it to our front end. So that's our modal here. Paste it in here, and looks like I just forgot. Oh, I forgot to copy it. Looks like I forgot to import GraphQL, so let's import GraphQL from React Apollo. Alright, let's see if we get any errors now. And let's see what the value of get team members is. What do we get back? I think we're going to have to use the distinct keyword. So click this, and crashed it. So right now we're assuming I is a string here when we're filtering I.toLowercase, which now it is a it is what's it called, an object. And I'm just going to do a little trick here. I'm going to console.log get team members so we can see what the values is. Notice how I'm using an or here. That just means it's going to log this and it's going to show this. Alright, so we're getting two values. We get two users, perfect. So we have Bob and Bob2. So we're getting our users correctly. I'm going to get rid of this now. And I'm going to move this back up. So now over here with this I just have to say I.username. And that looks good. Let's see if we have any other errors. Oh, unexpected token. I'm just going to undo, and then undo that again. There we go. And do .username. Okay. Now if we type Bob, I can do Bob2, or I can do Bob there, and we get this object thingy here. I think that's because I need to do item.username. So item or Bob, we get Bob, Bob2, we get Bob2. Now the only problem with this is I want the object here, right? I want it to show Bob2 here, but in our console, you notice how we got a string? I want Bob2. I want this object because the object has the ID. That way I can actually change the URL they go to. So I think all I have to do is right here. Actually, I guess that's not what's controlling it. I don't know how to change this so it shows or it passes me the item to the onChange, but what it shows here is not the object. I'm sure there's a parameter in Downshift that we can do, but we'll worry about that in a second. What I want to do is real quick finish this. So when I call that, what I want to do is I want to actually change the URL up here and navigate to the user page. So right here, what I want to do is something like this. So this should be selected user, and I want to say history.push. So push. We don't have currently access to the history object, so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to go to /view team, and let's just make sure we get this route right. /view team /user /team ID /user ID. So /user /team ID, and the team ID we're getting passed as a prop. So team ID there, and that's, if you don't remember where we're getting this team ID from, in our sidebar over here in channels. See how we're passing the team ID in? So now we have access to it there. And / here's the user ID. So that's going to be the selected user.id. So now this history thing. So with history, since we don't have access to this history object because we're not a route, only these components have access to the history object. We could pass the history object all the way down, or I'm going to show you another way you can do this. Since this is a couple components down and it'd be kind of annoying to pass it, you can say with router from React router DOM. I'm not sure why that didn't autocomplete. And with router is a higher order component, and I can just wrap my component like this, and then voila, I have access to this history through my object up here. It'll pass that prop in. So now let's give it a try. So now when I actually select one of these teams, like Bob for example, and hit enter, what it's supposed to do is call this function here and move us to a different page, but it did not, so something went wrong. Let's see what went wrong. Let's copy this, and I'm gonna just put some console log statements here, and I'm gonna say console.log history, console.log, yeah, let's just console log the history object. That's the thing. Push is how you change page, right? Let's make sure I'm not just messing this up. Am I using, let's search for history. So in my source, this.props, yeah, push is how you do it. Alright, so, oh, you know what? I think it's because I was on that page. There we go, Bob is a thing. Bob. Bam. Okay, notice how we are changing the URL up here. So Bob, it's changing. I just need to close this modal. So there we go. And then let's just call on close. Alright. So Bob. Awesome. Do Bob 1. Awesome. Pulls up. So that looks good. And I don't even think we need to worry about getting it so it's automatically clearing already for us, which is nice. And we can switch back and forth, so that's cool. So that's how we're going to be selecting and changing different users. I want to do a quick little check on that and make sure we're not going to get duplicate values on users. It's because we only have 2 users and 2 teams. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to test out this component more rigorously and make sure it actually doesn't get duplicate values. The way we're going to fix that, is in our resolver here. We can use the distinct keyword in here, distinct, which we'll add in if we get problems with this not working. And what that'll do is we'll fetch only not the same user object basically twice. But that's it for this video, guys. I'll push this code up. Hopefully you see how cool Downshift is. We're able to easily make a little auto completion field that's pretty nice. And I highly recommend, if you like, coming back in here and making this a little bit more stylish, because you can get a nice little autocomplete just styling this up nicely. But that is it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.